The Lameta Formation. Indian Cretaceous rocks were formed, then well developed and deposited in different basins as a result of major tectonic disturbances. The Lameta Formation, or alternatively, the infratrapean beds, is a sedimentary geological formation found in Madhya Pradesh, in Gujarat and Maharashtra in India. It is assigned to the Maastrichtian age of the late Cretaceous period. The best preserved and richest source of dinosaur fossils from this period have been found in the sedimentary layer along the Narmada River on the outskirts of Jubbulpuria city. The Lameta Formation lies between the Lower Cretaceous, its thin sedimentary Upper Gondwana sequence, also known as the Jubbulpuria Formation, which consists of metamorphic rocks, granite rocks, and the Deccan Traps basalt. The lithology of the formation, depending on the outcrop, is created of alternating clay, siltstone, and sandstone facies, deposited in fluvial and lacustrine conditions. In the Jubbulpore area, about 18 to 45 meters thick, the layer of the Lameta Formation is stratigraphically made of 5 lithonites, namely green sandstone, lower limestone, mottled nodular beds, upper limestone, and upper sandstone. It is believed that dinosaurs are found in good preservation in 2 units. The lower limestone, which is rich in sauropods, and the carnosaur bed lying above the limestone. The Lameta Formation was a tropical lagoon environment with many lakes and mud surrounded by dense vegetation. Plants that grew in this lush environment was typical of Upper Gondwana flora that included a variety of algae, ferns, conifers, flowers, and grasses resembling modern rice. These grasses were primarily rice, which were extensively eaten by titanosaurs. Grasses evolved sometime in the Cretaceous period, although they weren't a major component of the environment. As India was an isolated island at the time, grasses thrived and diversified more than in other locations due to lower animal populations. The nearby volcanic activity probably added to its extensive biodiversity. Many different kinds of animals were present in the Lameta. There were predatory snakes, like the serpent Sanage indicus, a 3.5-meter long snake that crept around in dinosaur nesting grounds in order to eat up hatchlings as they emerged from their eggs. Analysis of a clutch of Cretaceous period dinosaur eggs shows that bones within the nest belong to a 3.5-meter long predatory snake coiled around an egg and near the remains of a sauropod hatchling. Turtles such as Schwiboims and Cataremi and Dirosaurid, an extinct crocodiliform, also shared this ecosystem. There were plenty of fish and sharks in the lagoon's environment. The mud preserved many fossils, including ceratosaurs like Jubbulpuria, Coleroides, and Orthogoniasauru. There were larger carnivores like Abelisaurids, being Rajasaurus, Rajasaurus, Indosuchus, Lametasaurus, and Indosuchus. Noosaurids were represented by Ornithomimodes, Laevisuchus, and Dryptosaurides. A minimum of 3 different kinds of titanosaurs lived in this area, including the least well-known Titanosaurus, a slightly better-known Jainosaurus, and Isisaurus, which scientists have the best knowledge of. It is possible that an Ankylosaurus, Brachiopodosaurus, also lived in the area. It is believed that this ecosystem existed right until the end of the Cretaceous extinction. The history of dinosaur collecting in central India goes back to 1828, when W. H. Sleeman discovered isolated sauropod caudal vertebrae in the Lameta Formation near Jubbulpore. Since that time, the area became an important point for fossil collection that led to more exploration and further discoveries even until today. People who worked on finding and excavating bones were mainly employed in the armed forces. They concentrated around Jubbulpuria or down south near Pistura. Many new dinosaur taxa resulted from Charles Matley's dinosaur expeditions in 1917 to 1919 and 1932 to 1933, with the Percy Slade Trust expedition, during which he also mapped the Lameta Formation. The real interest in dinosaurs started in October 1982. One of the officers from the Geological Survey of India, the GSI, Dhananjay Mohabbe, had found a round rock about the size of a coconut. He presented his finding to Professor Ashok Sani, a widely respected paleontologist, who at the time was attending a seminar at the Physical Research Laboratory in Ahmedabad. The scientist recognized the rock as a dinosaur egg. The first nest was reported from the Lameta Formation in Chu Hill and Lameta Ghat. Usually, the nest had 2 to 7 eggs. Over the years, the eggs had been transported from their initial sites by sheet flooding and ended up in shallow ephemeral ponds or small lakes. Although many dinosaurs' bones were discovered over the past 150 years in India, their remains are poorly understood. There was not enough knowledge and correctly named and documented fossils to make any association between the parts. Also, there was very little information or none of quarry or sedimentological data recorded. Unfortunately, this situation has led to the creation of names given to Cretaceous Indian dinosaurs. Some of the species have received as many as 16 names. However, with more work being done on existing collections, and with new discoveries of dinosaur material from India and elsewhere in Gondwana, it helped to establish the structure and taxonomy of these species. But let's now find out about the history behind the discovery of some of the Lameta Formation dinosaurs. Lametasaurus. Between October 1917 and 1919, Charles Alfred Matley participated in one of the 2 most extensive collecting endeavours in Jubbulpur area in the Madhya Pradesh state. He excavated some fossils in slops in the Barasimla Hill. These were from the Maastrichtian stage, from terrestrial sandstone dated from the Sinonian sub-epoch or Gulf epoch in the late Cretaceous, around 70.6 to 66 million years ago. The specimen included about 5,000 scutes and 2 lateral spines, sacrum, ilia, and tibia. Firstly, Matley thought the remains were of 2 megalosaurians that were theropod dinosaurs. Around 1923 to 1924, he named one of these species as Lametasaurus indicus, meaning Lameta lizard. The generic name was given to reflect the Lameta Formation where the bones were found, whereas the specific name refers to India. Later on, Matley changed his mind and considered the fossil as a member of the Stegosauria rather than a theropod. The specimen consisted of a number of dermal scutes, a sacrum of at least 5 vertebrae, a pelvis, a tibia, and teeth. Over many decades, several hypotheses were made trying to establish where the bones should belong to. From an armored dinosaur, a representative of the Nodosauridae or the Titanosauria. It is possible that the pelvis and hind limb bones belong to Rajasaurus based on shared features in the ilium. Because the material has been lost, it is difficult to carry out more tests without knowing a correct label to prove any of these hypotheses. Therefore, the taxon is today commonly known as a nomen dubium, which cannot be assigned to any taxonomic group. It is believed, however, that it was a ground-dwelling carnivore. Rajasaurus. Suresh Srivastava, a GSI geological surveyor of India based out of Jaipur, worked at the Temple Hill site near the Narmada River in western India between 1982 and 1984. Fossil bones in Temple Hill are very common and can be dug out from the rocks with even just a penknife. He had been meticulously unearthing bones and recording the position of each one. He even found a single brain case located about 3.5 meters away from the backbones. It appeared that the bones matched. Therefore, it was thought to belong to a single individual. Many more long bones, some of which were broken, were examined and identified as belonging to several individual sauropods. It had taken Srivastava several years to clean the bones of extraneous mud and accretions, and placing them carefully in cartons. When Paul Serino from Chicago Fields Museum and Jeff Wilson from the University of Michigan visited India and met Suresh Srivastava, they were shown his well-arranged collection, especially the skull, then realized that this was something special. What made them think that it was a new species was the roof of the skull that had a raised lip, like a horn, which was made of bone from the nose. The horns on the head of Rajasaurus were probably used for display. They may have been in bright colors. The dinosaurs were often involved in fights, most often between the same species when arguing over food or for mates via headbutting or neck bashing. Paleontologists were not sure of the exact shape of the skull, and according to Wilson, there is nothing else in the world like this. Rajasaurus also had a strange head ornamentation in the form of a low crest. North American theropods lost their head crests as they evolved into more advanced dinosaurs. It seems to be the other way around with Indian dinosaurs, which developed head crests as they evolved. It had taken Wilson, a PhD student then, and his supervisors, Serino and Ashok Sani, about 8 months to assemble the skull. They named it Rajasaurus narmadensis, meaning King Lizard of the Narmada, or like some other sources describe it, a regal dinosaur from the Narmada. It was first described by Wilson et al. In 2003. The bones are dated at 65 million years old, putting them at the end of the Cretaceous period. Rajasaurus was described as a carnivorous theropod abylosaur. Unlike its relatives, it had a different appearance. It had a rather stocky build and a boxy but very strong skull and thick neck. The body was long, about 7 meters or 23 feet, but it was still shorter than other abylosaurids. This predator was probably about 2 meters or 6.5 feet tall, being slightly more than an adult human. The arms were very short, almost non-existent. It had very short 4-fingered hands and claws that were only on the first 3 of them. Although Rajasaurus's legs were also quite short, they were very powerful. This may suggest that it was not the fastest of animals. The wide toes were robust and gave this dinosaur extra support on the ground. The skin was covered in scales all over its body, with some bony osteoderms between the scales. It is believed that Rajasaurus had a very powerful bite and great strength in the neck to hold down prey. Equipped with a strong sense of smell, this would help them to locate prey from even long distances away. It is likely that this abylosaurid was able to set up an ambush, as it was an extremely agile turner. Rajasaurus would have waited for the target to emerge and then attacked it out of nowhere. Although its teeth were small, the strong, boxy jaws would have made significant damage to the struggling prey. Being a large animal, Rajasaurus's food would have primarily been larger herbivores, such as Isisaurus and Titanosaurs. Scientists believe The Rajasaurus is related to a family of large carnivorous dinosaurs, most of which had horns, similar-looking skulls and teeth, and roamed the southern hemisphere land masses of present Madagascar, Africa, and South America. Jubbulpuria. Another discovery from the Lameta Formation, dating from Maastrichtian by Huhn and Matley, was Jubbulpuria. The specimen consists of two syntypes, each being a partial distal caudal vertebra. A third distal tail vertebra also had been assigned to the species. These vertebrae are poorly preserved. However, scientists were able to describe it as a theropod, the group of bipedal carnivorous dinosaurs, a noasaurid, the smaller, slender group of ceratosaurs from which birds evolved. This predator was probably about a half meter or 1 foot 8 inches high and 1.2 meters or 3 foot 11 inches long, and the weight was unknown. Jubbulpur 1 is a name given to a dubious genus of small dinosaur from the late Cretaceous of India. Friedrich von Hein named it in 1932. The generic name refers to Jubbulpur in India, in the vicinity of which the fossils were found. A year later, Huhn and Charles Alfred Matley described the species type as Jubbulpuria tenue. The specific name means slender in Latin. Originally, Jubbulpuria was classified by Huhn as a coelurid dinosaur, such as Coelurides, that comes from the same formation. However, it was difficult to verify it on the basis of a couple of vertebrae. Therefore, researchers have concluded that it belongs to Theropoda incerta sedis, and that it should be considered a nomen dubia, since only 2 vertebrae have been found. This dinosaur was probably covered in feathers, its diet possibly including meat and fish. Indosuchus. Indosuchus is a genus of abelosaurid dinosaur that lived in the late Cretaceous period, about 70 to 66 million years ago. It was a bipedal carnivore that measured up to 7 meters in length and weighed about 1.2 tons. The dinosaur had a crested skull, flattened on the top. Like other dinosaurs talked about in this episode, Indosuchus's remains were found by Matley and the Lameta Formation close to Jubbulpur in Madhya Pradesh. It was named by Friedrich von Huhn in 1932 and was described by both Huhn and Charles Alfred Matley in the following year. The generic name originated from Indos, ancient Greek for the Indus, and Suchus, ancient Greek for the Egyptian crocodile god, together literally meaning Indian crocodile. The type species Raptorius means raptorial in Latin. Because only 3 partial skulls have been found, Indosuchus placement has been somewhat erratic. As with almost all incomplete specimens, it was difficult to establish the taxonomic position of the species. Initially, it was assigned to Allosauridae, then to the Titanosauridae family, only to be placed within the Abelosauridae group due to the discovery of other abelosaurids like Carnotaurus, which has helped to clarify Indosuchus's position. Isisaurus. An expedition was led by the Geological Studies Unit of the Indian Statistical Institution, and had more luck with finding Isisaurus fossils. It was excavated between 1984 and 1986. In the Dongagorian Hill location, near Wararoa, Dangagoa village, in the Chandrapur district of the Maharashtra state of India. The Maastrichtian site is a part of the Lameta Formation and is dominated by varied clays. In some areas there are thin layers of coarser and sometimes more consolidated sedimentary rocks. It is believed that it represents freshwater deposition. The skull was found in green clay, with its bones widely scattered about 1 meter from each other. No other titanosaur fossil was as well preserved a skeleton and as complete at the time of its discovery. Most importantly, it was uncovered in its articulated position, like when the animal was still alive. Although the skull, hind limb, or foot bones were missing, the scientists picked a holotype on the basis of cervical, dorsal, sacral, and caudal vertebra, ribs, pelvis, scapula, coracoid, left forelimb, and other bones. The specimen was initially described and named as Titanosaurus colberti by Sohan Lal Jain and Saswati in 1997. The specific name honors Edwin Harris Colbert, a professor at Columbia University and curator of vertebrate paleontology at the American Museum of Natural History in New York City, United States of America. However, the sauropod dinosaur was moved to its own genus, the Isisaurus colberti, by Wilson and Upchurch in 2003. The generic name Isisaurus combined a reference to the Indian Statistical Institution, the ISI, with the Greek saurus, meaning lizard. The genus is described as a titanosaurian dinosaur and contains a single species. It had a short, vertically directed neck and long forelimbs, which gave it a considerably different look to other sauropods. The humerus is 148 centimeters or 45 inches long. Its estimated measurements would have been about 18 meters or 60 feet long, 6 meters or 20 feet high, with 5 tons in weight. This dinosaur is one of the most similar to modern-day giraffes. An undescribed brain case of an Isisaurus skull shows that it was more robust and compact than that of Jainosaurus, and that it resembles the skull of Diplodocus and Apatosaurus. Isisaurus were herbivorous dinosaurs. Some coprolites containing fungi have been found, suggesting that the species ate leaves from different trees. It is known that these fungi infect tree leaves, you see. Isisaurus and Jainosaurus lived in the same area of middle and western India. But theropods like the abelosaur Rajasaurus may have presented a serious threat to these titanosaurs' young juveniles. Isisaurus fossils have also been reported from western Pakistan. Laevisuchus. More remains of other dinosaurs were discovered by Charles Alfred Matley near Jubbulpur. Not much is known about this species, as only 3 cervical vertebrae and a dorsal vertebra were found. Apart from one, all remains were lost. But later, one more was rediscovered in 2012. Although there was a limited number of bones available for study, paleontologists Friedrich von Huene and Matley named and described Laevisuchus indicus in 1933. The generic name was taken from Latin levi, meaning light, and the Greek name for the ancient Egyptian crocodile god, Suchus. The specific name indicus, meaning India in Latin. A holotype was not assigned by Huene and Matley. An electrotype has never been chosen from the syntypes. Huene originally classified Laevisuchus as a colurid due to the similarity of its vertebrae with those of Indosuchus. Laevisuchus was a small bipedal carnivore. In 1988, David Lambert estimated it was some 2 meters or 6.6 feet long, 0.9 meters or 3 feet high, and approximately 30 kilograms or 66 pounds in weight. In 2004, another analysis has shown it to be an abelisaurid. This dinosaur's vertebrae specifically look similar to those of noosaurids, such as Masiacosaurus and Neosaurus. Laevisuchus also lived in the late Cretaceous. These videos take a very long time to create. If you would like to support the channel and assist in improving it, then do please subscribe and give us a like, and consider joining our Patreon, links in the description.